Okay, picture this. You are in France. It is July 1944, deep in the countryside. The air smells like diesel and unwashed uniforms.
Right.
You are part of an American Army engineering unit, Company C. But here is the kicker. You aren't on the front lines. You are 200 miles behind German enemy lines.
Completely cut off.
You have no artillery support, no air support. And your commanding officer back at headquarters, he is treating the whole war like a bad radio variety show.
It sounds like a fever dream, doesn't it? But this is the reality of the Kelly operation. We are looking at a stack of sources today that document one of the most bizarre, surreal, and frankly, psychologically fascinating survival stories of the entire war.
It really is. I mean, usually when we grab a stack of military history sources, we are looking at maps, flank maneuvers, logistics.
Troop movements.
But this reads like Alice in Wonderland with tanks. We were looking at Major Kelly and a ragtag group of engineers whose primary mission seems to be, well, completely futile.
Futility is the operating word here. And that brings us to the core mission of today's deep dive. We are unpacking the Kelly strategy.
Right.
We have all these documents describing a unit that survived, not by outgunning the enemy, because frankly they couldn't, but by essentially engineering a false reality. They survived through absurdity.
Let's start with the setup, because absurd is the only word for it. They are tasked with maintaining a bridge. Just a standard bridge over a gorge.
Right, but it's the cycle that is just maddening. The sources detailed this Sisyphus-like existence.
Yeah.
The unit spends 26 grueling hours rebuilding this bridge. We are talking backbreaking labor cranes, moving earth, welding, and almost to the minute that it is finished.
German Stuka dive bombers show up.
Every time. They scream down from the clouds and just blow it to smithereens.
And here's the part that I had to reread 3 times. Major Kelly, the man on the ground, he knows this is going to happen.
He counts on it. In fact, the sources suggest he prefers it when the bridge is down.
That's wild. What's the logic there?
Well, think about it. As long as the bridge is destroyed, the Germans leave them alone because the target is neutralized. There is no strategic value in a pile of rubble.
But a superior, General Slade, who is safe and sound hundreds of miles away, keeps ordering them to rebuild it.
For a contingency plan that never seems to materialize.
We have to talk about General Slade. This guy is a piece of work. He communicates via these radio broadcasts he calls the Slade and Slade Show.
It's terrifyingly casual. General Slade treats these life and death orders like he's hosting a morning zoo radio program.
He rhymes.
He rhymes, he jokes, he ignores the fact that his men are stranded without support. It highlights the total disconnect between the map room and the mud. Slade is playing a game. Kelly is trying to keep people breathing.
And caught in the middle is Major Kelly. The sources describe him as a man motivated entirely by shallow philosophy. That phrase stuck with me.
It's a profound concept, actually. Shallow philosophy. Basically, Kelly has realized that thinking too deeply about his situation.
The fact that he's trapped, abandoned, and likely to die.
Exactly. It will drive him mad.
Yeah.
So he intentionally focuses on the surface. He focuses on just hanging on. He's paralyzed by the fear of death, obviously, but he's also obsessed with the fear of going bald.
The mud packs. I loved that detail. He's in a war zone, bombs falling, and he's sitting in his quarters smearing mud on his head because he thinks it'll stop his hairline from receding.
It's a classic displacement activity. If you can control the little things, like your hair, maybe you won't notice you have zero control over whether you live or die. It gives him a routine.
But Kelly isn't the only one coping in strange ways. The roster of this unit is unique.
That is putting it mildly. You've got Lieutenant Slade, who they call the Snot.
A Snot, great nickname.
Slade is the antagonist within the unit. He represents the danger of ego. He's obsessed with heroism. He wants a war story to tell his mother.
Oh, no.
The sources imply he's actually plotting to kill Major Kelly just so he can take command and do something heroic, which usually means something suicidal. He's dangerous because he still believes in the glory of war.
Whereas everyone else is just trying to survive the reality of it.
Precisely. Then you have the medical staff,
We have Nurse Paulette,
who is actually Private Paulette, a male soldier who wears a nurse's uniform, complete with high heels he borrowed from the other misfit, Lily Kane.
Right, Lily Kane, the USO dancer who got left behind.
Exactly. She's stuck there with a trunk full of sequin costumes and no civilian clothes.
So you have this surreal image of a woman in a glittering showgirl outfit wandering through a combat zone, assisting a male soldier dressed as a nurse.
And the fascinating thing is the unit just accepts it. It's like they've all agreed to this collective delusion.
Because the reality of their situation is too stressful to process.
Precisely. It's functional denial. They need a nurse. Pollitt acts like a nurse, so for all intents and purposes, he is the nurse.
And you also have Kowalski, the Oracle.
Oh, yeah. He's a soldier with a brain injury who speaks in these cryptic, prophetic bursts. He predicts attacks, but because he's brain damaged, the command just ignores him.
It's classic tragedy. The only one who sees the future is the one no one listens to.
So you have this dysfunction, this cast of characters, and they are just spinning their wheels, building a bridge that gets blown up. But then things get real.
Okay, segment 2 of our breakdown here, the first Panzer incident.
This is where the Kelly strategy of absurdity really gets tested. A unit of 12 German Panzer tanks approaches the bridge. Now remember, Kelly's unit has no anti-tank weapons.
They're engineers. They have rifles and hammers.
If they fight, they die. So they don't fight, they improvise. And this involves Maurice, the local French mayor.
Ah, a mace. The Chevalier d'Industrie.
A man who lives by his wits. He's a profiteer. He actually rents German equipment to the Americans. Uniforms, a truck, a jeep.
You can't make this up. The American army is renting enemy gear from a French mayor to survive.
So the plan is a Trojan horse deception. They dress up as Germans to trick the passing tank column.
But the linchpin of this plan is Danny Dew. This is one of the most incredible parts of the source material.
It really is. Danny Dew is a black soldier, the bulldozer operator. And in this deception, he has to stand guard at the bridge dressed as a German sentry.
A black soldier posing as a Nazi in 1944. That shouldn't work. The German ideology is literally built on race. They should spot him in a second.
And yet they don't. The tanks roll right past him. And Danny Dew's explanation for this is just profound psychology. He says he thought white.
Thought white. Let's unpack that. What is actually happening in the brains of those German commanders?
It's about perception versus reality, or what psychologists call inattentional blindness.
Okay.
Danny Dew realized that the German tank commanders rolling through occupied France are operating on a pattern recognition loop. They see the uniform, the posture, the helmet.
Their brains expect to see a white German soldier, so their brains fill in the gap.
They don't see the man. They see the symbol.
That is mind-blowing. It suggests that on the battlefield, people stop seeing individuals entirely.
Exactly. It's camouflage of the mind. Danny Dew survived by projecting a reality that the enemy expected to see.
But we have to contrast that passive survival with Lieutenant Slade.
The snot, always causing trouble.
Always.
Right. The convoy passes, the ruse works, they're safe. But then, there is one last German motorcyclist trailing the pack. He stops. He's confused. It's a tense moment, but manageable.
And Slade.
Slade shoots him in the back.
Just have a story for his mom?
It highlights the internal threat. Kelly and Danny Dew are trying to survive through wit and psychology. Slade introduces chaotic violence just for ego. It destabilizes everything.
It shows that in this specific environment, the quote-unquote hero is actually the liability.
Yes. And speaking of destabilizing, that brings us to the next major turning point. The bridge is rebuilt again, and Kowalski, the Oracle, starts shouting about a rising sun.
Right, and Kelly dismisses it. He thinks, rising sun, that's Japan, we are in France. Kowalski is crazy.
But Kowalski wasn't talking about the Japanese flag.
No, he was being literal. He was pointing at the morning sun, illuminating the silver wings of an aircraft.
Specifically, an American B-17 bomber.
This is the twist that really hurts. They get bombed by their own side.
It's friendly fire, but it's intentional. The Americans bomb the bridge to destroy it, and this is where the tone of the sources shifts dramatically.
Yeah.
Up until now, it's been absurd, almost funny with the mud packs and the dresses, but then we get the death of P.D. Danielson.
The description there is brutal. He's gut shot, he's screaming. It's not a movie death, it's messy and horrible.
And Major Kelly has to perform a mercy killing because they have no morphine, no real medical evacuation. It strips away the shallow philosophy.
You can't put a mud pack on that kind of trauma.
No, it establishes the real stakes. They aren't just playing dress-up, they are being hunted.
And then General Blay finally drops the other shoe. He reveals why the Americans bombed their own bridge.
Right. It wasn't an accident. Blade reveals that the 12 tanks they saw earlier, those were just scouts.
Oh, man.
There is a massive German Panzer division heading their way. We aren't talking about 12 tanks anymore. We are talking about 90 tanks, 1,500 infantrymen, anti-aircraft guns.
A force that could level a city. And they are going to be camped at the bridge for at least 12 hours.
This is the ultimate threat. Kelly's unit is trapped. They cannot fight a force that size. It would be a massacre.
They can't run.
They cannot run because they have heavy machinery they can't hide, and Blade insists they hold the position.
So logically, they are dead.
Logically, yes. In any standard military simulation, this is game over. But remember the Kelly strategy.
When reality guarantees death, you have to reject reality.
You have to engineer a new one.
Which leads us to the wildest part of this whole deep dive, the village of deception. Maurice, the French mayor, comes back with a plan.
It is audacious. Maurice proposes that they hide the tanks, the bulldozers, and the soldiers by building a fake village on top of the campsite.
A fake village?
Yeah.
Like a movie set?
Better. A functional disguise. They call it a religious retreat. They build a fake convent shell to go over the bulldozers. They turn the jeeps into religious shrines using plywood and canvas.
But there is a huge problem. Kelly's men don't speak German or French. If 1,500 Germans show up for a rest stop, someone is going to ask a question.
That's the genius of the cover story. The village is designated as a retreat for the deaf and dumb.
Of course. Because if they're deaf and dumb, they don't have to talk to the Nazis.
It sounds like a joke, but it solves the linguistic problem perfectly. The soldiers dress as mute peasants in robes. The women from Maurice's village dress as nuns who have taken vows of silence.
It turns the war zone into a stage play where the only requirement is to shut up.
But there is a catch. There is always a catch with Maurice. He isn't doing this for free.
No, he's a businessman. He charges them for the lumber, the paint, the labor. But since the soldiers don't have cash, Maurice introduces the credit contracts.
This is the bureaucracy of absurdity.
I couldn't believe this part. Major Kelly has to blackmail his own men into signing these contracts to pay Maurice.
And the collateral. Treason. Maurice makes them sign confessions. I admit to sabotage. I admit to communicating with the enemy.
So to survive the Germans, they have to sign papers admitting to treason against the Americans, which they then give to a French profiteer.
It creates this incredible moral dilemma, especially for Sergeant Coombs. He's a career soldier, he respects order, he respects the chain of command.
And he refuses to sign a false confession because it goes against his code.
But Kelly forces him, he pulls rank, he orders him to sign the confession, so Coombs is stuck.
To be a good soldier and follow orders, he has to document that he is a bad soldier who commits treason.
It breaks his brain a little bit. It inverts his entire moral compass.
And amidst all this, building a fake town, signing treason papers, you have Sergeant Hagendorf, the surveyor.
The drunk surveyor. Hagendorf is fascinating because he represents the loss of objective truth. He used to believe the world was measurable, surveyable. The war destroyed that philosophy.
Everything is chaos.
And now he's being forced to survey a fake town for a fake reality. He has to use his precise tools to map out a lie. It just validates his nihilism.
But not everyone is miserable. We have Lieutenant Bean. He falls in love.
With Natalie, Maurice's daughter. It's the classic love in the time of cholera trope. They find this connection amidst the madness.
But Kelly warns him.
He shuts it down with one of the darkest lines in the text. He says, "Hope is a terminal disease."
Hope is a terminal disease. Wow, that is hard.
It fits Kelly's worldview perfectly. If you hope for a future, you become vulnerable. You start worrying about dying because you have something to live for. Kelly survives by detaching, by assuming he's already a ghost.
He calls them figments of Aesop's imagination.
But Beam embraces the hope. He embraces the romance.
So let's set the stage for the climax. The sun is setting. We have an American engineering unit about to hide inside a fake town they built in 6 days.
They are pretending to be deaf-mute monks.
They paid for this privilege by signing confessions of treason. And they are waiting for 1,500 heavily armed Germans to show up for a sleepover.
It is the definition of engineering absurdity.
What strikes me is the sheer creativity of it. I mean, usually we think of war as force against force. Ballistics, armor, strategy.
Exactly. But this suggests that war is also theater. Think about Danny Dew thinking white. Think about the fake convent. These men aren't surviving because they are better soldiers. They are surviving because they are better actors.
They are out-fictioning the enemy.
That's a great way to put it. The Germans are operating in a rigid reality. They expect bridges to be bridges and peasants to be peasants. Kelly's unit is operating in a fluid reality where a bulldozer is a religious artifact.
And a private in drag is a nurse.
The rigidity of the German perception is their weakness.
It makes you wonder about Major Kelly's shallow philosophy. At the beginning, it sounds like he's just in denial. But is he actually the smartest guy in the room?
I think he might be. In a situation that is fundamentally insane, where your own side bombs you and the enemy ignores you, sanity is actually a liability.
Trying to make sense of it, like Sergeant Hagendorf tries to do, drives you to drink.
But Kelly accepts the madness, he leans into it, he becomes the director of the play.
Yes. And by treating the war like a fairy tale, as he calls it, he distances himself enough to make these crazy decisions that actually keep his men alive.
It's dissociation as a survival tactic.
And effective leadership in this specific twisted context.
It forces us to ask a difficult question. We place so much value on gripping reality, on facing facts, but in extreme trauma, in the chaos of war, is facing reality actually the wrong move?
Right. If reality is a 90-ton tank pointing a gun at you, maybe it's better to live in a fantasy where that tank is just a prop in your scene.
Exactly. Kelly believes they are figments of Aesop's imagination, and maybe in the end, that detachment is the only rational way to survive the irrationality of war.
It's a powerful idea that when the world loses its mind, you might have to lose yours just a little bit to keep up.
It forces you, the listener, to ask, where is the line between madness and brilliance? Major Kelly is, by all standard definitions, having a breakdown. But that breakdown is the only thing that kept his men alive.
Well, that brings us to the end of this deep dive. We've gone from mud packs to fake convents, exploring one of the strangest survival stories of the war.
A story where the only way out was to go deeper into the rabbit hole.
And to you listening, here's a thought to take with you.
Yeah.
We all face situations where the odds are stacked against us. Maybe not Panzer Division odds, but high stakes nonetheless. We're taught to fight or flight.
But maybe there's a third option.
The Kelly option. Reinvent the context.
Exactly. If you can't change the facts, change the story.
Build a fake village and pretend you're a deaf-mute monk. It might just work.
Uh.
Thanks for listening, and we'll see you on the next deep dive.